give you more.
It is true, what many of you have heard. The machines have gathered an army, and as I speak, that army is drawing nearer to our home. Believe me when I say we have a difficult time ahead of us. But if we are to be prepared for it, we must first shed our fear of it. I stand here before you now, truthfully, unafraid. Why? Because I believe something you do not? No. I stand here without fear because I remember that I am here not because of the path that lies before me, but because of the path that lies behind me. I remember that for 100 years we have fought these machines. I remember that for 100 years they have set their armies to destroy us. And after a century of war, I remember that which matters most. We are still here! Let us send a message to that army. Tonight, let us shake this cave. Tonight, let us tremble these holes of earth, steel, and stone. Let us be heard from red tar to black sky. Tonight, let us make them remember. This is Zion, and we are not afraid.
Hey, how's y'all doing? This is Mr. Blows Your Mind. After a 2-month vacation, I'm back, y'all. Coming with another topic that blows your mind. Well, I've been gone for a little while. A lot of stuff has been happening. And for my subscribers, I want to apologize for not putting any videos due to some I'll say some unforeseen occurrences that prohibit me from making videos. I don't want to go in detail with it, but I'm back, and I'm back at what I do, and I'm bringing this for you. Now, what is my topic for today? Let's see. I will be doing a video on the Trayvon Martin. I got a lot of stuff some things that people just did not catch. And if you are a frequent viewer of my videos, you know I get to that point. Sometimes I may draw the story out, because again, in the way I define things is a well-prepared meal is not instant. It's not microwavable. There's preparation that needs to be involved in preparing a good meal. So I try to be informative in the information by putting in certain aspects so that it can, part of the ingredients to make it a well-prepared meal. For those who are not into long dissertations or long conclusions, my videos may not be for you. Okay, I'm here to do what I'm here to do. Now, the Trayvon Martin case, I will be posting videos on that. I have some other requests of things that have been passed that I did not get a chance to do, but now that I'm trying to get back on my square, I'm here to serve you. Now, my topic for this particular video, well, let's see. For y'all who may have a little bit of information and may not take the seriousness in it, they have been making strategic plans, and we're not paying attention as into what these plans are. They kind of drop it in and then take it out. Not many people going to respond and say too much. And this is coming in 2014, 2015. Okay? This is coming real soon. And the implementation of it is going to have a forever effect upon our nation of people. Now, the title of this video is going to be called Ghetto Birds. The new ghetto bird. Drones are coming to a hood near you. I'm going to say that again. The ghetto bird. The new ghetto bird. The drones are coming to a neighborhood or a hood near you. Now, the reason why I'm bringing this topic up is for the simple fact that a lot of our people that in this little, I say the little black corner section of the internet, sometimes we espouse on certain topics and we bring forth information on those things that are prevalent, but sometimes we're not getting into the meat, the potato, and the vegetables of it, and we just kind of get into the meat and beer, because that is their delicacy. That is their main diet that they brought from their homeland. And when you take on somebody else's culture, then that is foreign to you, makes you sick. And this is why a lot of our people are sick. It's because we've taken on and we don't recognize when somebody else is implementing something to you that will be detrimental to you, your health, your family, your nation. Now, there's a saying called gird up your loins. And when they say gird up your loins, it just means preparing for action or hard work. Now, this term is used to, they use it in God's people who wore their clothes loose. But in the times to travel, working, or fighting, they gird it up, meaning to fasten as like a belt. So to be able to have total function of their legs, arms for the task needed at hand. So I'm trying to have you to gird up your loins in preparation to what is about to take place. There's so much things that we're being bombarded with. We're bombarded with so many events and so many tactical schemes that it's hard for many of us to focus on one in particular, then trying to, plug all the holes that are cracks in the wall. trying to stop the overflow of water upon you. So, this girding up the loin, this is actual mental preparation, and let's take a little time to analytical think as into what is the intention for it. Why is there a necessary need for these drones to be put in the hoods? And when I say the hoods, you know what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about neighborhood versus hood. Okay? Understand the terminology. Neighborhood versus hood. Now, according to, and I wanted to actually input this particular, in this particular video, the actual hearing that took place back in, well, I've been gone for 2 months. So it was about a month or so ago. I actually have it because you see on my Obama video, you see at the bottom of the screen where it talks about the drones, right? It was going to be a discussion or the hearing on the drones, which I actually watched that, and I have inserts that I could put in here. But based on me being absent for the 2 months, there's a lot of stuff I have to insert in order to be able to do those things at this present time. So this video won't have as much. It'll be me just basically espousing the information, and then I will have to probably come and do a second part to it to actually give you the hearing for those who may be interested in it. Now, there's a particular term, thus it is that in war, the victorious strategist or strategist only seeks battle after the victory has been won, whereas he who is destined to defeat first fights and afterwards look for victory. So what did I just say just there? Those who sit around and try to be strategic in war, in battle, right? Let's just look at black people, and then let's look at the white people. We're trying to strategize and trying to put ourselves in better positions by trying to infiltrate, assimilate, and using the same political apparatus that put you in the state, and think that we're going to get a different result, right? And so I'm saying that based on what I just gave you here as just this an analogy here, see, you can't win like that, because again, the one who's destined to defeat you, he fights first, and afterwards he looks for the victory. Meaning, he does what is necessary in the battle. He does all the fighting, and once he conquers you, once he have you in a compromising position, once you done waved the white flag, now it's victory time. Where we have our people trying to think that if we get little bits of inches and movements in particular little wins and little stripes and wars, that we think that is considered progress. No, it's gonna come, y'all. If we're looking at what's happening and we're seeing this strategic move of how things are being done globally, internationally, you know chickens are going to come home to roost. And when these chickens come home to roost, who you think is number one on the list in this land? See, drones are going to be put and used upon us to keep monitoring our movement, our actions. because they're girding up. They're girding up for what is the implementation of a plan that has already been designed, and it's called the end game. They're getting prepared for the end game. So it's just a matter of time that if you keep watching the political scale and the international affairs, the last stronghold outside of this land, and according to the European nations, is the one that's in opposition to it. And these wars that are being fought religiously. Let me give it to you like this. Many of our people consider themselves to be Christians based on what has been prescribed through the religious literature that formulates you to become indoctrinated as a Christian. I'm not against faith, but what I want you to understand is that in war strategies, they use departments. They have to use agendas in order to keep a certain structure of implementation of what the usurper or the conqueror needs the people to be succumbed to. So what you have inside of a nation, there's a small portion, supposedly by his count, of a opposition enemy who, if you go back and you read in history, you'll see that the only way that you could be totally accepted. Now, we're not going to talk about on paper. On paper, it is clear. You are not, I'll say it again, you are not in accordance to what is documentally said, because you are a clause to just give you some, as they say, privilege. You have privilege. Rights. Is rights and privilege the same thing? That need to be looked upon. So if you're just a privilege, and a privilege has the possibility to be taken, then that means somebody has the jurisdiction and the power to relinquish whenever they want to take it from you, because they showed you this is what done happened after all that so-called fighting of the 60s to get to 1965, and then to find out now they're going to start repealing the Voting Rights Act. Do we not see where this is headed? The religious aspect is Christians versus Muslim. Even though you may be a Muslim inside this nation, but you got to realize that you are one of the number one enemies to the Christians, because you don't know Christian-Muslim history. So by not knowing Christian-Muslim history and becoming a Muslim, you are automatically public enemy number one. Go look up on the site and find out who is the number one enemy, or the number one person that they have on the list as combatants, enemies, or the other term they kind of use is dissidents, right? You'll see the Nation of Islam is number one. Why is the Nation of Islam, who consider themselves to be religious, who has no agenda to use accordingly to outwardly, it looks, the exterior part of it, they are not about weapons, they're about the uplift and keep and to bring the knowledge to the black man, but for some odd reason, he's the biggest threat. Then there's other ones that got SNCC and so forth, and NAACP and so forth. They're on the list too. But the number one is the Muslims. And the Muslims are number one is because all this warring. Yes, there's interest and there's resources. But you got to understand how the whole foundation of their authority came is they used the church. It is the church how they went. Remember, they went across the land in the name of setting up with the cross, and as they usurped, go back to the Inquisitions and find out what was that about. So here we are in the end game, and now we're going to be, it's bad enough you got police roaming your hoods. It's bad enough you got cameras on your street lights, right? It's bad enough, right? Now you got helicopters that sometimes chasing people, and they be all in the hood and putting the light on. It's bad enough that now they say we're going to put drones, unmanned aircrafts, to monitor and have the capability to be able to target based on skin color, height, weight, can see, just like going into the airport and using those scanners to be able to see through your clothing. They have license plate readers. Are we seeing what's coming down the pipe? Are we so naive to just think that somehow this is going to blow over and this is going to be, well, yeah, I hear what you're saying. Man, I think that's a little bit, that's a little paranoid. Look, let me tell you, I'm going to give you some history as to the same type of situation, and let's see what the outcome was. Because we seem to think that if we just strategically somehow undermine and usurp as if they not paying attention to your movement, to your agendas, your organizations, if you think that that's not part of it, I'm going to show you something here to show you that war is their business. I'm going to say that again. War is their business. Like how you go to the store, if you want something to eat, there's a restaurant. If you need to get some parts to fix something in your house, there's a hardware store. When you want to go to some for entertainment, you got a movie theater. You got stores that provide for certain services. This is the Department for War. This is what they specialize in. This is why they go around the world policing everybody, because this is the breadwinner. You feel what I'm saying? This is what they make their money on. Okay? So you can't be thinking victorious on little small maneuvers of implementations. You're going to have to learn how to fight. And then after the fight, you're going to look for the victory after you done did the fighting. For all you Christians who read, and you read in that Bible, there was plenty of fighting in there. There's books in the Apocryphal, the War of War. What about that? When they took all that stuff out of there, right? So another way to look at this is he wins his battles by making no mistakes. Making no mistakes is what establishes the certainty of victory, for it means conquering an enemy that is already defeated. I'm going to say that again. He wins his battles by making no mistakes. Making no mistakes is what establishes the certainty of victory, for it means conquering an enemy that is already defeated. So what do I mean by that? The smaller mistakes you make, let's just say, for instance, if you watch a sporting events, let's say basketball, let's say football, let's say boxing, right? In basketball, the limited amount of turnovers, right, that a team has, just like in football, the high probability of winning, just like in boxing. The high probability of not making this mistake to get caught you got a high probability of either lasting the rounds or not getting knocked out. And based on your tactical way of how your science in boxing is, you might can win systematically on points. But you have to be aware to keep yourself from getting knocked out and not putting yourself in a compromising position. So the least mistakes will establish the certainty of a victory. Meaning, if you can limit your mistakes, the high probability of you defeating against who you're going against, they already defeated. Because if you can make them continue to keep making the same mistakes and more mistakes on top of that, it's easy to defeat them. Now let's just look at us. Look at the mistakes we continue to do. We keep trying to use somebody else's program as it's going to give us a better result than what it gave them. Are we understanding that? You can't use somebody else's formula that was prescribed for them. That's like going into your bathroom. Not your bathroom. Let's say you go visit a friend and you got a headache or you got some pains. And you go and you don't ask them because you don't want them to know that you got. So you sneakily go in and you go in the cabinet or the medicine cabinet. You go in there and you see some bottles of pills with prescriptions on it, right? And you just decide that you just go eeny, meeny, miny, mo and pick you a bottle and pop it and take the pill. Now, you don't know what you just taken. You just assuming because it's a pill that is going to do the job that you needed to do. That's the mistake you just made. Now the one that the prescription it was made for, it took it. It's helped to the victory is for it to cure it or to redeem its pain. Or, you feel what I'm saying? And that's what we be trying to do. We be trying to take other people's prescriptions and try to apply it to ourselves and thinking that we gonna get the same results that has been prescribed for them. We need a new change. And see, these drones coming is just the end game to, talking about a police state or a police world. It's bad enough as it is. Every place you go, you got cameras that's all around you up in these buildings when you're up on the train. So now you're going to have one, and they got so many different ones that comes in. They could be birds, they could be flies, they could be mosquitoes. So they're going to be so stealthily undetectable to the fact that if somebody was surveillancing you, they could probably surveillance you and get up in your house. Like having flies. You feel what I'm saying? Like a fly could get up in your house and could be a drone. You feel what I'm saying? They could come as that small. And this may not be interesting for them because a lot of people can't foresee what I'm saying here. So these mistakes that we keep not paying attention to, the things that we allow to slip underneath the radar are the things that accumulate to make us be defeated. Now, accordingly, in that conversation that they talked about with these drones, they say that, well, communities can collaborate together and state that we don't want these in our neighborhood. But let's look at our communities. I'm not saying people of color or black folks don't own. We own some of our homes, or we're paying mortgages on our homes, and that's the other aspect to it too. You own the home, but you don't own the land. You feel what I'm saying? So if that be the case, then a community would be a collective of people that would all reside in that area who would have the authority to say, well, we don't want this. But renting, there's no power when you rent, because you are just like a customer. The person who owns it, probably 6 out of 10, is probably in opposition to you. So they can say, you know what, I would like to have, I won't mind doing this. This could be strategically have been done. See, you live in neighborhoods and you see each other, but a lot of times we don't be knowing who owns the property. And so you could be undermined systematically just on that alone, and I call this soft war. These are the things that are part of war that you don't be paying attention to, that be undermining and sitting right up in the, right in the center amongst all of us, and we don't be paying attention to it. Well, when the Eric Snowden came out, and that was another story that came out since I wasn't around, which is surveillance on the phone. I've been knew that for way back. We talking about that back, you know what I'm saying? Back in the day. This ain't nothing new. And people was all they surveillance and listening to it. Been doing that. What you think all this is about? So it's like saying, the skillful fighter, he puts himself in a position which makes defeat impossible and does not miss the moment for defeating the enemy. Like boxing. A skillful boxer, let's just take Floyd Mayweather, since he's the man right now. He has no blemishes on his mark. The reason why that is because he's a skillful fighter, and he always put himself in a position. And once he gets you in that position where he can not miss the moment for defeating you, catching you off guard, off balance, in the wrong position, he has the skill to take you out. Let's look at that analogy. See, when we react about Trayvon Martin and the people were sitting out here talking about getting the guns and arming them up, and then you got some places in some of these chocolate cities where people talking about because of the rampantness of what they say gang-related crimes, they want to say, well, bring in the martial law. Bring in the martial law. It's like, why would you be calling something like that out when you really, truly, that is a mistake. That is a mistake. You feel what I'm saying? Remember when I talked about he wins his battles by making no mistake? That's a mistake when you sit there and you sit there and say, well, bring them in so that then that will stop them. But then once they alleviate and take care of that, they ain't leaving nowhere. Ask some of these other countries that have been invaded and they put the military base there. They ain't left and they ain't gonna never leave. They done set up shop in your camp. And so now you're gonna be regulated based on that. And whatever interferences or whatever injustices happen is due to the simple fact that you requested it. Don't cry now. This is what you wanted, right? So when you say war, a lot of people have the implementation of what war is. They say, well, war is when you see two countries fighting with arms and military and weaponry. That's part of war. That is a part of war. That is the basic generalization of what war is. Now, yes, armed fighting is war. But as a department of activity, a profession, or an art, war is a business. Now, let me show you what I'm talking about. If I ask you, what is Department of State for? Could many of you tell me offhand what is Department of State for? Well, I'm going to tell you, it's been around since 1789 in this country, right? It employs 49,000 employees. Think about that. That's an army. 49,000 employees are in this Department of State, right? And its primary job is to be diplomatic missions of the United States and its foreign policies, okay? Implementing foreign policies, diplomatic missions of the United States, the missions of whatever the United States are trying to do in these foreign countries, and then implement its foreign policies of the United States on those countries. Is this a form of war? Is this a form of war? Or is this just business as they say. This is governmental political business. To be able to implement and have station and to make sure, oversee that you do according to what basically we have to also look at, that the state also has something to do with the depository of treaties. These are entities entrusted with valued possessions. Now, the funny part about that is, you know who, the ones who have departments of states? France, Russia, Switzerland, the United Kingdom, and the United States, and you got the United Nations, right? Now, out of them I just named, which one of them was the brothers of the nations? They don't have no say-so? No. You ain't got no say-so, because you ain't got no land. Huh? I'm going to say that again. You ain't got no land. So you ain't got no say-so. And what treaties we honor with you? There is no treaties with you. So that's what it do. And guess who's headed as of right now? That John Kerry cat. The same cat that tried to run for presidency. Remember him? They used to show him when he's supposed to be a military man and he was running through. That's the only clip they had of him. He was running, right? So you got military mindedness heading your Department of State, right? Military mind. See, this is all about, this is the implementation of something that has been long foreseen. And we keep thinking, I don't know what we're thinking. I really don't know what we're thinking anymore. What about the Department of Defense? What did the Department of Defense do? It's a vessel used to implement force. It's a vessel used to implement force, which is a responsibility for providing the military forces needed to deter war. Deter what war? Deter war on the country, on this country. They deter it, but then the other part is to protect. It's probably protecting this country, but it's all to deter war. Well, deterring war. See? How did it get its authority? Where did it get its authority to be the police of the world? See? That's why a lot of people get on and you hear them say the greatest, most powerful in the world, but you don't understand how this whole one entity divided up to different sections. Like you say, going to the store to buy something to eat, hardware store, entertainment store. You feel what I'm saying? And let me show you. One business is the church. One business is the finance, the money. The other one handles the aspects of war. It's the military of it. Gotta figure this out, y'all. Drones are coming. And with drones mean you can also drop bombs. You know, history done told us they don't have no problem dropping a bomb on your ass. Give us a reason. Matter of fact, do we need a reason? We already got a reason. But because we play the game, right? We play the game, and so you playing the game, and you playing in the mindset game that we gave you, so we have to kind of do it in a way so you don't react in such a way. We have to, clandestine war you until we just going to implement and just drop the whole shebang on you, right? So also with this state, you will have your USSOCOM, right? What about psychological operations? You know they changed that, right? It used to be psychological operation, but that sounds, with this day and age and with some of the information that's out here, and the minute that word is wrung out, people gonna be like, psychological? Well, that has something to do with, trying to persuade mentally in my mind. So they changed it to MISO, right? Military Information Support Operations. That sounds, that's that politically correct way to make you feel like there's no threat to you. You feel what I'm saying? So that was the State Department. What about your Justice Department? Established in 1870. It represents the citizens of the United States and enforcing, the laws and the public interest, and plays a key role providing protection against criminal activity. The primary operation function are performed by the Federal Bureaus of Investigation, which is your FBI, your DEA, your INS, your BOP, and USMS, which is basically, they're saying the drug. Let's just look at that. Let me go back again. Established from 1870, represents the citizens of the United States, enforcing the laws and the public interest. Right there, did you hear something that did not pertain to you? Represents the citizens of the United States. You know you ain't no citizen. Huh? You know you're not a citizen. You know that. Trayvon showed you that you're not a citizen. You're not a citizen, y'all. As much as you want to believe it, you do not read. You do not read. And when you don't read, you misinterpret. You think about this. I told somebody this a while back. Think about this. Think about the only reason you know about whatever you think you know about government. Think about the age that was inculcated into you. You was 12 to 13, maybe 14 years old, depending. I'll say 13, 14, right? And you say, well, how do you determine that? Well, let's put it this way. What is the prescription for you to graduate from 8th grade going into high school? What is basically your graduating test? Even though you done already passed and had the grades, but there's one particular test you had to pass in order for them to push you on. It's called that Constitution test. So here you are at 13, 14 years old, learning government, and you're supposed to keep that with you for the rest of your life. And that's what black folks do. You taking government that you learned at that age, and you have to remember that and understand all the functions in government, because there is no civil courses taught in high school where the black people at. That's not part of the requisite for educating you. The only way you would do that is once you got to, your college and you start getting into, political science and things of that nature, then that would be part of your curriculum. But we only going to get you at 13, 14. You got to carry that for you with the rest of your damn life. Huh? Oh, you don't believe me? Let me show you something. Let me show you something. Let's see if I can find it. So if I was to say to you, where is the 13th Amendment? You know what the 13th Amendment is? All right, I'm going to tell you what the 13th Amendment is. 13th Amendment, 14th Amendment, 15th Amendment are commonly known as the Reconstruction Amendments, inasmuch as they follow the Civil War and were drafted by the Republicans who were bent on imposing their own policies of Reconstruction on the South. Post-Bellium legislation there, Mississippi, South Carolina, Georgia, for example, has set up laws which it was charged were contrived to perpetuate Negro slavery under other names. Huh? Now, the 13th Amendment is what? Slavery abolished, but check the clause in it. Proposed by Congress on January 31st, 1865. Ratification completed by December 18th of 1865. The amendments, when first proposed by a resolution in Congress, was passed by the Senate 38-6 on April 8th of 1864, but was defeated in the House 95-66 on June 15, 1864. And you know what? I be hearing some people talking about Juneteenth, talking about we be celebrating Juneteenth. What are you celebrating Juneteenth for? Because June 15, 1864, they said it did not pass. On reconsideration by the House on January 31st, 1865, the resolution passed 119-56. It was approved by Lincoln on February 1st, 1865. Now, just remember what I just told you. It was approved by Lincoln on 1865. But there's a clause to this, and this is why I'm going to show you why you're not a damn citizen. Although the Supreme Court had decided in 1798, what year is that? 1798, that the president has nothing to do with the proposing of amendments to the Constitution or their adoption. Are you a citizen? I'm going to say that again. The Supreme Court had decided in 1798. How many years is that before Lincoln did that in 1865? 67 years before Lincoln. That the president has nothing to do with the proposal of amendments to the Constitution or their adoption. So, when it told you and said that President Lincoln, it was approved, what you mean it was approved? He ain't got no say-so in this. Lincoln didn't do nothing. He ain't had no power. He didn't have no say. He could have vetoed it. He approved it by not vetoing it. But does that necessarily that Lincoln freed the slaves? So let's see what this 13th Amendment really is about. It says 1. Neither slavery nor involuntary servitude except, oh, there's that clause, except as a punishment for crime whereof the party shall be or have been duly convicted shall exist within the United States or any place subject to their jurisdiction. So what did I just say? There ain't no slavery, but if your ass go to jail, you are now a slave. Melanin check! It is legally for us under the jurisdiction of the 13th Amendment to have you as a slave. Don't we see where this prison industry complex is why there's so many brothers locked up? Don't we see why? 2, now you read this back when you was 13 years old, but you forgot about it. You're grown now. When last time you read, most of you? You ain't reading any damn thing. And you definitely ain't reading this. Melanin check! Because you think you got it down. 2, Congress shall have power to enforce the articles by appropriate legislation. Congress has the right to appeal this whole thing and say, guess what? Y'all see that movie called Purge? When that movie Purge came, sirens go off. Let's start running. Now, the 14th Amendment. Citizenship rights not to be abridged. Citizenship, citizen and citizenship, are they the same? Are they the same? Citizenship versus citizen. Are they the same? Just in the word here, citizen, they say it is. But let's take it in the legal, according to how they say it. Let's see if it is what they say it is. Now we're gonna get to the drones, because I got to show you why the drones are coming. Citizenship is the status of being a citizen. Status of being a citizen. Status of being. There are 4 ways to acquire citizenship: by birth in the United States, by birth in the United States territory, by birth outside the United States to U.S. parents, and by naturalization. Now, you can be born outside the United States to USA parents and still be considered a citizen. Wow. Parents by naturalization. Now look at citizen. One who, under the Constitution and laws of the United States or of a particular state, is a member of a political community, owing allegiance and being entitled to enjoyment of full civil rights. You're not a citizen. Melanin check! You're not a citizen. I ain't even got to read no more. Right there, just told you. One who, under the Constitution and laws of the United States or a particular state, is a member of a political community, owning allegiance and being entitled to an enjoyment of full civil rights. 1865, you were still fighting for the rights. You still fight for rights till this day. You still out here protesting and talking about, you are not a citizen. Case closed on that part. Case closed. Now, 14th Amendment, citizenship rights not to be abridged or abridged. The following amendment was proposed in the legislatures on the several states by the 39th Congress, June 13, 1866, and was declared to have been ratified in the proclamation by the Secretary of State, July 28, 1868. The 14th Amendment was adopted only by virtue of ratification subsequent to earlier rejections. They didn't want to do this. And guess who they was talking about? Not you black folks. They were talking about them white folks that was going to replace you. They didn't want to get them. Because they was coming over here being natural citizens. They were going to come over here and be natural citizens. They were going to be immigrants and became and have a naturalization, and they would get full-fledged rights. You know, see white folks out here protesting about they ain't getting no rights. You know what they be protesting against? Don't go over there and kill them. Don't do this. Stop abortions. But nothing about rights. Except for the gay stuff. That's the one. That was it. That is the only fight you see where white folks are talking about rights. Now, newly constructed legislation in both North and South Carolina, respectively, July 4th and 9th, 1868, ratified the proposed amendment. Although earlier legislators had rejected the proposal, the Secretary of State issued a proclamation which, though doubtful as the effects of the attempt withdrawal by Ohio and New Jersey, entertained no doubt as to the validity of the ratification by North and South Carolina. The following day, July 21st of 1868, Congress passed a resolution which declared the 14th Amendment to be part of the Constitution and directed the Secretary of State so to promulgate it. The Secretary waited, however, until the newly constituted legislature of Georgia had ratified the amendment subsequent to an earlier rejection before the promulgation or ratification of the new amendment. Guess what? Georgia didn't get it in time. North and South Carolina is what this is really pertaining to. Oh my God. One All persons born of natural in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and the states wherein they reside. No state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privilege of or immunities of citizens of the United States. See, you can't do nothing to revoke nothing of white folks. There's nothing, because each state in the collective United States have their own constitution. Do many of y'all know that? Whatever state that you reside in got its own constitution. And so these ratifications and resolutions that they were sending were according to their state. According to their state. That's why you was hearing a little while back when when they were talking about receding from the Union. You was hearing that talk. Didn't you remember that? Texas and all that? We're going to recede from the Union. Why? Because they had that already part of the clause when they called themselves uniting. They had already had legislation set up so that if some shit went down, we could get out if we want. So there's their own constitution for each state. But this is about the North and the South of Carolina and Georgia. Okay, the southern states. But there's a part in the 14th that I really want to bring out. There's one part. It's the Section 4 of the 14th Amendment. And it says this. And this is why I'm bringing out the drones. The validity of the public debt of the United States authorized by law, including debts incurred for payments of pensions and bounties for services and suppressing insurrections or rebellion, shall not be questioned. But neither the United States nor any state shall assume or pay any debt or obligations incurred in aid of insurrection or rebellion against the United States, or any claim for the loss of or emancipation of any slave, but all such debts, obligations, and claims shall be held illegal and void. You ain't gonna never, you hear what I said? You ain't gonna never get reparations from them. This is why they look at you like you crazy. You ain't gonna never, because the state ain't liable for it, and the United States is not liable. When we emancipated you, that was it. That was your payment. Melanin check. So what are you gonna do now? You got a slave class that got nowhere to go. You ain't got no money for them. You got to do something with them, or they're gonna be a thorn in your side. So we're gonna have to surveil them, because if you stay in a condition long enough, you see them zombie movies. That's what they talking about. When you ain't got nothing to eat, no place to go. You see how, if you've been looking at some of these news stories, how you've been seeing bears and shit coming into the cities eating out of the garbage can? That's what's going to happen. You're going to be going to the places that got food and trying to survive, and they're going to be knocking our ass off like we zombies. So they got to put all this in. Look at all the chocolate cities. The chocolate cities are being gutted out. Look at Detroit. Look what's happening in Chicago. Huh? Look at what's happening across the board. It's happening. Huh? It's happening.
I was born black, I live black, and I'm gonna die probably because I'm black, because some cracker that knows I'm black better than you, nigga, is probably gonna put a bullet in the back of my head.